Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, that's right, it is time for a book haul because the thing I normally use to check is when the shelf that I put the books that I haven't done in a book haul video yet is completely full and starting to overflow. It is time to finally film another book haul. So these are kind of a mix, a lot book outlet, no surprise, some half-price books, as well as some new books that I finally got my physical copies of. No further ado, let's jump in. So first up, we have Queen of Storms by Raymond E. Feist. This is another like super late Rift War book, but I'm a sucker for getting hardcovers. So I now have a collection of mostly mismatched later Rift War books, and that joins the pack. I just figure if I can find them super cheap at like half-price books or book outlet, so that I have them for later, then that's a win as far as I'm concerned. And then, continuing my bad habit of getting later books in the series when I haven't read, nor have book one, I got the Labyrinth of Scions and Sorcery and the Last Uncharted Sky by Curtis Craddock. This is books 2 and 3 in the Risen Kingdoms trilogy. The first one is An Alchemy of Masks and Mirrors. The names are pretty fun. As well as I just really like these covers, so I was really drawn to these. I think I've heard somewhat mixed things about this series, but it's supposed to be kind of like a fantasy with some historical fiction elements in it, as well as, you know, like steampunky with airships and whatnot, and it just sounded pretty cool, and I was able to get these real cheap, and the covers are really pretty, so they'll at least look nice, even if it takes me a while to get to these. Then another one that I had just recently heard about, and then I saw it on book outlets. I figured I would give it a try, even though this sounds like this may not be for me, but Avida Nostra, which is by Marina and Sergei Dyachenko. This is a translated Russian novel, and the plot sounds super weird, but there's apparently this girl, and she starts like kind of working for this sinister, weird-seeming guy who then tells her to go to the Institute of Special Technologies, and it's like this insane school where nothing makes sense. Obviously, I don't like school settings very much. It doesn't sound like it's going to be a typical school setting type thing, though. But like I said, I'm like, I needed to fill out my book outlet order. I just heard some people talking about that on BookTube, so I'm like, why not? We'll give it a shot. Then, which this now makes me want to find the rest in hardcover, they had The Traitor's Knot by Janie Wirtz, and this is one of the books in The Wars of Light and Shadow. It's book 4 of Alliance of Light, so I don't remember which arc Alliance of Light is, so that may not actually be book 4, because there's a bunch of different arcs. Yeah, this is book 4 of arc 2, I think. So it's gonna be a good long while before I get this, but this is in like perfect condition, and I would love to get the rest because I love the covers on these, and so that's why I really like my mass market paperbacks. I love the covers. I just don't like mass market paperbacks. And even like the newer ones that are like UK are not really a whole lot bigger. So I'd love to find these all in hardcover, and I'll have to see if I can. Hopefully I can. I tried to get a copy of Curse of the Mistwraith multiple times on Amazon because I actually found one randomly that was a good price, listed as very, very good condition. And I ordered it. And my order got canceled because the fulfillment center apparently said they didn't have it. It went to the wrong fulfillment center. Get that all figured out. They send me another one. Like you'll definitely get it this time. And I got like a medical textbook. And they canceled it, and I just wasn't even going to try a third time to get the book. So I'll have to still find hopefully the first book, but I have it on Kindle and I have the mass market, so I should be fine. But hopefully I'll get it at some point. Next up, we have a couple of books that I've actually already read, but now have my physical copies that I've been waiting for. The first is Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. I read an e-arc of this, and this thing is pretty chunky. This is definitely chunkier than the first one. I've been really enjoying this series. I've done an e-arc for both the first 2 books and then still pre-ordered the books. And I love these covers, and it's been a great series. So I made sure to grab this, of course, still. And then I'd been waiting to get my copy of An End to Sorrow by Michael R. Fletcher. I really want to get the hardcovers of these, and I was so tempted, but I already have the first 2 in paperback, and so eventually I'll probably work on getting hardcovers to replace these. but I love this cover. And the hardcovers are really cool looking, but they're a little bit more monochrome with like a color filter over them. And the colors on this paperback, so cool. So this also is a book that I really, really enjoyed this series. I loved that last book. So I wanted to make sure I had a copy to complete my collection. So next up, we have Heroes Die by Matthew Woodring Stover. I heard about this book a while back, and it's supposed to be pretty weird. Some people really, really, really like this. Other people hate it. But it's the main character, which this cover is something else. That's for sure. The main character is kind of like a gladiator, I guess, but he goes to fight on another planet, and then it's like televised back on Earth, so kind of weird. And like I said, this is supposed to be pretty dark, and also sometimes it sounds like it goes like super like too edgy for you type thing. So this will be a weird one. It'll be interesting to try, but I'd heard about it, and when I randomly came across a copy, I'm like, I'm definitely gonna grab that. Next up, we have The Paper Menagerie and Other Stories by Ken Liu. I also had gotten this on Book Outlet, and I got it before I started the Dandelion Dynasty, so I'll still be interested to try this. I've heard it's pretty good with the short stories, but I've been a little bit mixed on the Dandelion Dynasty, so I don't fully know how much I'm going to like it, but we'll have to see. Then we have The Bone Maker by Sarah Beth Durst. This one I know I heard some buzz on, and this one sounds kind of interesting. There was a corrupt bone sorcerer person who is defeated by 5 heroes, but only one survives, and that one survivor is trying to use also forbidden bone magic to resurrect her husband, get him to come back, and then things kind of go from there. So it sounded pretty interesting, and I've heard some good things, and like I said, some buzz on this one, so we're going to give it a shot. Another one I got before trying anything, I got Blackwing by Ed McDonald. This one I've heard mixed things. I know a lot of people really enjoy this. And I got it because I saw it, and I figured if I really liked Daughter of Redwinter, I could then go in and read this series. I didn't really like Daughter of Redwinter all that much. It was okay. It was pretty middle of the road for me. So I'm less excited to get to this now. But the plot at least sounds pretty interesting. It's supposed to be a pretty dark, gritty, post-apocalyptic world. There's a bounty hunter, and then gets involved with a noble lady who are trying to stop this enemy army basically from wiping them out. They have some sort of weapon that's supposed to prevent them because they're too scared to attack, but that may not be the case anymore. So it sounds like an interesting premise. I'll have to try. It's supposed to be a darker story, so I think a lot of the things that I wasn't a huge fan of in Daughter of Redwinter might not be here, so I still definitely think it'll be worth a try. Then we have Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. So I actually have a mass market paperback copy of this, but when I found this nice little hardcover, which I don't know what the correct term for this hardcover size is. It's about the same size as UK hardcover, I believe. And I have other books that are in this size. So this will be much nicer to read than a mass market paperback. It's also illustrated. So I came across this brand new at Book Outlet. And I'm like, yes, please. I've got a lot of Neil Gaiman there. Somebody who lives nearby must not like Neil Gaiman. Or just gets rid of their books after they read them, because there always seem to be more Neil Gaiman books there. And his books are so darn expensive to buy new. So then a couple of things that I have read, but didn't have the best copies of is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I know there's a whole size of the Lord of the Rings here too, but The Hobbit, I actually realized I didn't have a copy of The Hobbit. I've read The Hobbit before, but I didn't have a copy. So this is a pretty good sized paperback copy as well. And then I also ended up grabbing on Book Outlet, they had this paperback Lord of the Rings, which is the 50th anniversary 1-volume paperback. I have a much nicer, and cost a lot more than this, the hardcover with the big map pullout that I love. But also, this will be a good reading copy, where if this gets beat up, I got it really cheap at Book Outlet, it'll be totally fine. So I might use this as my reading copy, and then keep the other one for display purposes as well. But that one does have illustrations, so I don't know. I'm always torn. I'm not usually somebody who does reading copies that much, but that was really cheap, and I figured, worst case, I have an extra copy of Lord of the Rings, because I've had a bunch of old mass market paperbacks of varying quality of Lord of the Rings for a long time, so having a couple of options is definitely nice. So then we go to a very lucky find that I'm still kind of shocked on, and I found, granted no dust jacket, but my Half Brace books had a hardcover Memories of Ice. And I don't think the hardcover is nearly as hard to find as like the trade paperback is. But Memories of Ice was one of the few Malazan books that I still need something besides the mass market copy of. So I grabbed this. It was like $8. I'm like, I'm gonna get this. And so it's in really good condition. I don't know what happened to the dust jacket itself because like the book's not real beat up. But I was pretty excited to find this. I've still been kicking myself. A few years ago, they had a copy of Toll the Hound in full-size hardcover. And I'd never even seen a full-size hardcover Malazan book before. They had it, and I'm like, I don't want to get this, because at the time, I only had mass markets. And I'm like, if I get this, I'm going to then want to start collecting them. Well, then I ended up getting a lot of the others over time in different copies, and Toll the Hounds, wouldn't you know it, is still one of the ones I don't have, but I could not pass up. I felt pretty lucky to find that one. Then, because I have just been absolutely loving Draenei, I grabbed Wolf in Shadow by David Gemmell, which this one I don't think is an actual Draenei book, based on the fact that, there's a gun here. But this is just another David Gemmell book, and I definitely want to make sure to read David Gemmell. And I don't know if this is... It's funny, Joe Abercrombie has a blurb on here, because I always comment when I'm talking about Gemmell that Abercrombie fans should read Gemmell to see, what a better version of that style is. So that makes me laugh. But yeah, I don't know if this is part of... This looks like it's part of a series. I don't really know anything about this, but I need more Gemmell in my life, so that was all I needed to know. And then I got a few that they had at my half-price books of these science fiction masterworks, because I've been trying a little more science fiction, and so far it has been interesting. So I already have The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin, but they had The Lathe of Heaven and The Word for World is Forest. These are both pretty short overall, especially The Word for World is Forest, which I think it counts as a short story. It's very short. So I grabbed these because I'm interested to try more of science fiction in general and Le Guin specifically. And then I also got, because I've heard about this for a long time, Lord of Light by Roger Zelazny, which this one sounds like sci-fi, but also a little bit of fantasy elements in it as well. I've heard about Zelazny and specifically this book before, so I'm like, I'll grab it. So those will be some nice things for when I need a little bit of a change of pace. And nearing the end now, we have then The Dragon's Legacy by Deborah Wolf. And this one, cool dragon cover, that's always helpful. And this one sounds like it has a fairly normal fantasy premise. There's like an earth dragon that's slumbering under the earth, and if it wakes, it'll destroy the world, but is prevented by the Dragon King, but the Dragon King is potentially dying, and so there's that kind of drama going on. But it was a pretty cool one I grabbed. Like I said, cool dragon covers are a really easy sell for me. I like dragons. And speaking of dragons, next up is the Pit Dragon Trilogy, and this is by Jane Yolen. And this is, the books must be pretty short because this is a trilogy and it's like the size of just a fairly normal hardcover. But kind of an interesting cover here as well. Got this half-price books, and this, the plot of this sounds super interesting because it takes place on another world. So it's kind of like somewhat sci-fi fantasy too. It takes place on another world where apparently Earth would send its convicts, so like, otherworld Australia in the desert. And the unique thing about the world is that it had native dragons, and they were mostly dying out, but then humans started breeding them, and using them for meat, for leather, and of course as pit fighters. And so then there's like a bond servant boy who ends up secreting one of the hatchlings away and raising it so that he can turn it into a pit fighter and hopefully win his freedom, basically. And so just whole thing sounded kind of cool. Once again, dragons, and so I grabbed that for sure. And last of all, we started with a random late Rift War Raymond E. Feist book, and we're going to end with one. We have Wrath of the Mad Gods, which is book 3 of a completely different trilogy or series in Rift War. But so yeah, I think now I have at least 4 random ones of these. It's just when they're cheap, like I said, I can't resist. So I do really need to continue Rift War. I still need to finish even the first trilogy or 4 books, or however you want to look at it in general. But I'm excited to read more of these, so I couldn't pass it up, and I grabbed that one as well. So that is it. So like still a pretty large book haul, but not as like obscenely large as some I've had. But that is everything I got. So as always, let me know if you've read any of these, what your thoughts are, if there's anything you think I should bump up, any of that kind of thing. Always fascinating to see. So let me know in the comments. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description for the Wizardly Duo Discord if you want to chat books, whether these books, other books, really anything at all. It is a lot of fun. We'd love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.